have more results from another big defense contractor, L3Harris, with earnings and revenue beating estimates. And you can see shares trading up almost 3% right now in after hours. Joining me here on set exclusively and ahead of the upcoming conference call, L3Harris CEO and Chair Chris Kubasik. Chris, great to have you here.
Always good to be here, Morgan. Thank you.
All right, let's start with a quarter, because you did have a beat on the top and bottom lines. You did have a quarterly record in terms of the amount of orders generated, double-digit increase in the total backlog, and actually book-to-bill, which we don't always talk about very much, really solid as well.
Absolutely. Well, it was a great quarter. So first, I want to thank the 46,000 men and women of L3Harris, getting us off to a great start to 2023. As you said, 9% revenue growth. All three segments grew. This is the third consecutive quarter we've experienced top-line growth. The orders is really what fuels the growth. And as you mentioned, record backlog, record orders. Book-to-bill at 1.3, meaning for every dollar of revenue we book, we get $1.30 of new business. This really, for me, says that the strategy is resonating with our customer, and they're recognizing it by giving us more business. A beat on EPS by a penny and positive cash flows. So off to a good start. Gives me confidence we're going to grow in Q2 and the full year.
Okay. So where are you seeing the most demand come from? I mean, we just touched on space, but also there's the defense budget trajectory here in the U.S., and we see a big increase in what's already been appropriated for this year, but also so much more international demand, too. Globally, we're seeing new records released just earlier this week in terms of the defense spending that's being done.
Yeah, we're seeing defense. We're seeing growth across the board. We're about 22% of our revenue is from international customers. We're seeing it in the Far East. We're seeing it in the Mid East. Obviously, Ukraine. We've delivered 15,000 radios to Ukraine since the conflict started. And here in the U.S., space is a hot market. We grew double digit, but we're also seeing it in our airborne assets, our autonomy, and of course with the cyber market as well. So pretty well balanced portfolio.
Are you seeing supply chain normalization and labor dynamics easing too?
We have. I believe the worst is behind us in both of those cases. It's still a challenge. You talk about supply chain. You know, we put our engineers to work, and we have redesigned our products and are now using 1,300 different parts than 2 years ago that were not originally designed in. So instead of sitting back and waiting for the suppliers to catch up, which we hope they do, we're redesigning our products and taking advantage of what's available.
Chris, how durable is that communication systems revenue growth that's been so strong? Is that those radios that you talked about delivering to Ukraine? How much of it is public safety, and how much of that sticks around?
Yeah, it's really all military. It's all really military. And I think one thing we've learned from the Ukraine conflict is that resilient comms is critical to, you know, the next warfare. So you have to be able to communicate past data without having it intercepted. The U.S., the Army, the Marines, they're all in the middle of a modernization. So we believe we have good visibility. It's kind of like our personal phones, right? Everybody's got to get the next thing in the Army. The Marines all doing the same thing.
You're attempting to buy Aerojet Rocketdyne, $4.7 billion. FTC last month made a second request. We've seen the regulatory environment look no further than Microsoft Activision this week. And, of course, the scuttled deal that happened with the last suitor that tried to take over Aerojet. Are you confident you can get this deal done?
I am confident we're going to get the deal done, but I want to kind of take a step back and say, in my belief, there's a lot of confusion in D.C. over terms that mean three different things. So I'm going to talk a second about consolidation, mergers, and acquisitions. They should not be used interchangeably. A consolidation is when two companies come together with similar capabilities. I reflect on 1997, McDonnell Douglas and Boeing. They consolidated. There was one less commercial and military aircraft provider in the U.S. and in the world. A merger is what we did. L3 and Harris came together, complementary capabilities. We're now in air, space, land, sea, and cyber domains. We saved $660 million, shared that with the DoD and our shareholders, and have positioned us to be a stronger competitor in the industry. What we're talking about here is an acquisition, all cash, 10% of our enterprise value. And we're not a competitor with Aerojet, and we're not a customer. So when you look at that from an antitrust perspective, we remain confident the deal will close by year end.
Okay.